Welcome to the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce Quick Takes Legislative Live video series. My name is Matt Murphy, the Government Regional Affairs Director for the Chamber. And in this series, we're going to share quick visits with our local legislators. We want to know what's going on, what the hot topics are, and what in general is happening in Olympia. I want to thank the Tire Factory and MacKay Sposito for their support of this series as policy engagement partners. Today, we are joined by Senator Nikki Torres from the 15th Legislative District. Hello and welcome, Senator Torres.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it. Good to see you on a Friday morning.
Absolutely, yeah. So, in addition to continuing the policy work, I know we had a big date last week, and now we got the budget. The budget's kind of moving into the forefront of everyone's thoughts, although I know that it's been on your mind for quite a while. I wanted to review a couple things. So the Senate Republicans, you guys recently introduced a budget. The revenue forecast came out predicting an $845 million additional or less than expected. The Senate Democrats have introduced their revenue proposal, and they are expected to release their full budget within the next short couple days here. And of course, we got the transportation budget coming. So we got all this budget stuff coming down the line. So my question is simple question, Senator Torres. How are you guys going to reconcile all this? I mean, your budget was 1,900 pages long. So I know it's a simple answer.
Actually,
you can
like 1,200,
give or take a few. Yeah. So.
Well, we scrubbed the budget line by line, over 500 line items. We did a couple of rounds on that. And then we revisited to make sure that, okay, can we take more from, we were doing fund grabs and we were doing surplus grabs as well. And then being mindful of not to cut serious services that help clients, that help people right now. We were trying to be mindful of that and not cutting any of those services that are important to people, and also boots on the ground like DOT, DOC, and CPS, not cutting any of that, but making sure that they're intact and actually offer more for CPS workers. And also not cutting the NBCT, which is the National Board Certified Teacher bonus stipend that they receive. So if they've gone through those numerous hours of training for that certification, we were honoring teachers by not cutting that. We were actually keeping that in the budget, making sure that they were getting paid for that. And also because they work in the more impoverished schools. And that's part of the NBCT stipend, is that they have to be working in one of those impoverished schools as well and complete those rigorous hours of training. So we were honoring that. The other thing we did is on the third round, we weren't included on the third round of the operating budget discussions, but the chair from the majority party, Senator Robinson, made sure to relay the information with nonpartisan staff to make sure that we were kind of in the know of other cuts or grabs that they were doing, that they were going to propose. And of course, we don't, our proposal was more mindful. It was living within our means and not increasing the revenue by a lot at all. We didn't impose any new taxes, and we didn't make any drastic cuts. We're just living within our means. And the policy items that were implemented or that were passed a couple of years ago, they've come up. They're up for payment now. So those, what we're calling layaway bills, are now, it's time to pay that bill. So what we're going to do, since they haven't been implemented and they haven't been paid, we're just going to push them out another year so that way we can help balance this budget. The other thing that we are doing in our proposed budget is that Governor Inslee had sent out his proposed budget in December, and it gave us an opportunity to review that. Well, we don't have the collective bargaining agreement in there. We want Ferguson's administration to have an opportunity to look at that, because I think that's more fair to have the new administration to have that ability to look at that contract and renegotiate it. But what we are doing is we're giving $5,000 bonuses to each employee, every state employee that makes under $80,000 a year. So that's how we're honoring that and making sure that the Ferguson administration can go back and revisit that, because with the collective bargaining agreement, it was a $4 billion agreement. and it was pay raises for everybody across the board, whether they're middle management, leadership, directors, the very top, the one that's making way over 80,000. So we wanted to make sure that it was fair and more equitable by offering the $5,000 for state employees making under 80,000. And also, we weren't increasing childcare rates. What we're doing is we're holding off on that as well, so that way, because when you increase childcare rate for providers, it increases the copay up front for families. So families are already struggling at the grocery store and at the pump, and definitely don't need to do that to them right now.
So it does appear as though you've given this a lot of thought. Your simple answer, I'm sure that you dumbed it down quite a bit, because I know there's a lot of stuff to it, and we appreciate the hard work that you put into that. And and it sounds like there's been a little bit of communication between both sides, at least through the nonpartisan staff. So I'm hoping that as things continue to drop, we do have all the rest of the budgets coming out, that you guys will be able to come to terms, and that the citizens of Washington State will eventually, in the end, be winners in this whole thing.
Yeah. And I just want to add, when we asked nonpartisan staff, budget staff, we asked them, what is the real number that is the true, what is the true deficit number? First, they told us it was like 6.7 back in December. Then they came back and gave us a real finite number, which is 6.6 billion that we're in the hole. So we're like, okay, that's what we really needed to take care of, was that 6.6 billion. It's not 12, it's not 15, it's not 20 like you've been hearing.
Yeah.
The deficit was actually 6.6 billion.
Okay. That's your story, and you're going to stick to it, right?
Correct. That's what we modeled our budget proposal off of.
That's good to know, because you're absolutely right. The numbers have been floating out there, and nobody knows exactly what it is. So I'm glad that you guys have a handle on that.
Yeah, and the higher they go, I guess that's the good way to sell it to propose taxes, and that's what they were doing. So we want to make sure that it's clear that the people of Washington know that their taxpayer funds, that we're actually 6.6 billion deficit only, not 15, not 20.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I appreciate that. So thank you, Senator Torres. You've given us a lot of information to think about, as I'm sure that you've done a lot of thinking on it also. But this series is called the Legislative Live Quick Takes, and so I don't want to take any more of your time, because I know that you still have policy meetings or policy committee hearings going on, and then of course I think probably next week is when the real strong negotiations are going to start taking place. And
oh yes,
and appreciate you being at the forefront of that. So I will let you get back to your busy schedule. Again, thank you for your time, and thank you for everything that you do for Washington State and the 15th Legislative District.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
All right, thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.